Welcome to the Generous Business Owner Podcast, where business owners gain inspiration and encouragement to live a legacy, not just leave one. And now your hosts, Jeff Thomas, Alan Barnhart, and Jeff Rutt.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's Generous Business Owner Podcast. My name is Jeff Thomas, and I've got my co-host with me today, Jeff Rutt. Say hello to the people, Jeff.
Hello to the people.
And we have a very special guest with us today, Ed Herr. He is the CEO and chairman of Herr Foods Incorporated. You're going to hear all about that. And if you're watching on YouTube, look over his shoulder and you'll know exactly what products, a couple of the products they make. So there's the teaser for YouTube. But Ed, thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Jeff.
All right. Jeff Rutt, you want to crank it up?
Yeah. Thank you, Ed, for joining. This is such a special privilege. I've known your family for so many years and really appreciate the influence that you've had on my life, on our business, on our charity, in so many different ways. But Ed, tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in the Herr household.
Okay, will do. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for your testimony too, brother. So I have this great privilege to have had wonderful parents. Our parents grew up in Lancaster County, one in Paradise, one in Willow Street, and in 1946, that's what, 78 years ago. Wow. They were engaged to be married. My dad was 21, my mother was 19. And my dad was working on his dad's farm. He was in charge of growing chickens. He had 2,000 landings. And back in those days, on a Mennonite family farm, the rule was you worked on the farm until you were 21 years old, without pay. That was your, that was your contribution to the family business. Thank God that rule changed.
Literal sweat equity, Ed.
Anyway, so Dad, when he turned 21, he said, you know, Dad, I've loved working on the farm, but I'd like to look around and see what else is out there. And he saw an ad in the Lancaster paper for Verna's Potato Chip Company for sale for $1,750. So Dad decided to buy this company, and he got a 1936 Dodge panel truck and a couple big old black kettles that he could cook chips in by hand.
Wow.
He and mother started making chips by hand.
Wow.
They sold the chips in the local farmers market, a couple other farmers markets around. But one of the things I remember Dad telling me they would do is they would take, you know, back then, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a time when they sold tins of potato chips, like a 3-pound tin, like a big can of potatoes. So they would make these homemade chips in this house in Lancaster, and they would distribute them to your doorstep of your house. And on the doorstep would sit this 3-pound tin, and inside there would be a note that said, we have made these hand-cooked chips for your family. If you would like another tin of these, put 35 cents in the can, and we'll exchange it next week when we come back.
Oh my gosh.
That's the way the company started. Today, we have 1,600 employees. We're doing, you know, roughly 400 million in sales, and we're selling 50% of the sales are in the Philadelphia Mid-Atlantic region, and then the other 50% are across the nation or in 60 other countries. So we've grown a lot from those humble beginnings. And when I look back and I think about, like, what was it about Mother and Dad that was like the key takeaways? And I would say 3 really strong things. And just like with you guys, you could go on beyond the three, but they loved God, they loved people, and they loved hard work.
Mm.
So when I think about their love for God, they were devout Christians. Our family business is built on, the Christian values, and they were active in their church. They, studied and prayed over the Word of God and over their family, and from a people standpoint, they just, not only did they love people because Jesus said, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. They love people just inherently. They just had the personality that they loved having people over to their house. They loved visiting people. They loved getting to know people just with no agenda. They were just genuinely interested, like you guys are, in people. And they like to hear their story and learn from them. And it didn't matter what faith they were, what background they had. They just loved people. And then I always say they loved hard work, to the point that sometimes hard work trumped success. Do you guys know what I mean by that? Like sometimes it didn't matter if you were successful, as long as you were working hard. That solved a lot of problems, so hard work was the answer to a problem, right? So if you didn't know what to do, just get busy. The answer will come. Just start working, and the answer will come. So those are the things I think about. And one of the things that I just value the heck out of, and that is that our parents taught us to enjoy working. Like I remember when we were growing up, we had a family kind of a thing where we worked a half a day around the house on Saturday morning, and then the other half a day we could play. So that meant in the morning, I had 2 brothers, 2 sisters, so 5 of us. So we work around the house. It might mean mowing the lawn or raking leaves or sweeping the blacktop or working in the garden or any number of things, cleaning out the pony barn, any number of things. And my point here is that I remember thinking that I couldn't tell which I enjoyed more, the work part of the day or the play part of the day. The play part of the day was just go for a bike ride, play basketball, baseball, something like that. But I remember the same thing happening with a couple of my kids, where you spend time to, Saturday afternoon we'd go to the carnival, and someone would say, I'm just going to keep working in the yard. You guys go ahead. That's what. So this thing that we learned to enjoy hard work and to enjoy the value of work, it's just a gift. It's just that was a good memory, and it sticks with me to this day.
Yeah. So Ed, what are a couple things that you remember about working in the business as a younger child, either junior high, high school? You started early, right?
I started when I was 8 or 9 years old, and we used to get these tractor trailer loads of potatoes. Back then, we'd get about 1 a week. Today, we get probably 16 of them a day. But back then, you guys remember this too, that potatoes came in 100-pound burlap bags. And I think I weighed about 80 pounds. But this guy that worked for us paid me 25 cents every time I helped him unload a load of potatoes. And I could get those ears of burlap bags, and I could swing that in such a way that the weight would get momentum, and then all I had to do was drag it to the back and plop it down and dump the potatoes in. So that was a job. And I did, worked in the warehouse, did some janitorial work on the weekends at the plant, because we lived right next door to the chip factory. So it's always work available. And, work meant that I could buy a bicycle or go-kart or any number of things. So that was fun. So anyway, I grew up, as you can imagine, with parents like that in a pretty great environment. Like my childhood was so much fun. Like it was like one of the guys you interviewed, Jeff, he said it was like Leave It to Beaver. You know, it was like a
Yeah.
world that was like almost make believe. You know, but I remember as a young boy, barefoot all summer, shorts, t-shirt. That was the word. The only time I put on anything different was on Sunday, and sometimes we would go down to a campground and I could go there barefoot, and that was so cool. But I used to have calluses on my feet. I could slide across the stones, you know, that but we had ponies. At one time we had 40 ponies. And
Wow.
my dad actually had a giveaway program with when you bought chips, you could win a free pony because at one point, we were trying to get rid of some of these ponies. But anyway, that's what it was like for me as a kid. I would get up in the morning, have breakfast, go down and bridle up the ponies. My mother would pack a lunch, and a friend of mine or a brother of mine and I would just go out on the ponies all day and just ride through the woods and play cowboys and Indians. So anyway, I say that to say that it was a very happy childhood, just glorious, really, really.
Wow.
So that's the way it was. So then fast forward to 10 years ago or so, my dad passed away, and then shortly after that, my mother passed away. And I remember thinking, gosh, we're not going to be able to fill their shoes, but what we're going to try to do is keep a good shine, right? That's what I tell them. Can't fill their shoes, but we can keep a good shine. So I think about some of the things we learned from them and from others, like people like you, Jeff, is, the value of servanthood leadership, the value of humility, the value of realizing that this is just ours to steward. It's just ours to take care of for a period of time. And there's something about that, guys, that's a stress reliever. It's like a huge stress reliever to realize that what we're here to do is to be our best and do our best for the business, for the people, for the good Lord. And then we have peace about it. That the business can take twists and turns, and we have peace out because we're doing our best. So, and I'm like some other people, or probably most people you all interviewed, like there's no question about it. Like a company is about its people. Like there's a sign on my wall that you guys can't see that says, "It's our people." It's our people. And, anybody can start a chip business. You can buy the same trucks we're buying. You can buy the same potato chip fryers. You can buy the same peelers. You can buy the same factories, packaging, all these kind of things. The only thing that separates one company from another is its people and its culture and how they work together and how they collaborate and how they're curious together and all these things. So one of the things that we're working on from this realization that it's our people. And let me just give you a little backdrop. Now, our company, you mentioned there at one part, Jeff, that we're a fairly large snack food company, which is true. And you could say we're one of the largest family-owned and operated snack food companies in America, but we're also very small compared to our competition. In other words, Frito-Lay is 50 times our size. And then we have because snack food industry is growing so rapidly, there's a lot of other companies, conglomerates like Hershey and Mars and Campbell's and people like that are getting into the snack category. So what we try to do is try to say, okay, we love our people, we love God, we love hard work. What is it that makes us a little bit different? Like, what is our point of difference? Why is it that a retail buyer or a consumer would want to buy our product? And then we came up with a list of things. Like we want to give the best quality possible. We want to give the best service. We want to have the best relationship. We want to be nimble. We want to be responsive, these kind of things. So What we're doing is working on these points of difference. And what we want to do is develop kind of a world-class point of difference that our people are proud of. They're proud to talk about when they're making a sale. They're proud of talking about with their families or whatever. So that's it. So our people, you guys may or may not have heard this before, but we try to do a really good job of supporting, caring for, loving our people. And we have what we call the 5 C's. And it starts with culture. And then it goes to communication, collaboration, curiosity, and openness to change. So those are the 5 C's that we talk to our people about and try to keep in front of us.
Ed, what was the last one?
Change.
Change. Like embracing it?
Like embracing a different way of doing things,
Right.
being open-minded,
Right.
almost embracing what doesn't go right because there might be something to learn there, just kind of accepting. So now, the other thing that I mentioned about loving God and loving people that I might just expand on just a little bit. And I talk about this sometimes when I give a little talk or something, but I think it's kind of corny in a way for a CEO and a chairman to say, but I really believe that leadership comes down to loving people. Like I really do. Like you guys know that, like what is there, like 613 or so commandments in the Bible. And one day they asked Jesus, like, well, what's the most important? Like, what's the biggest, best? Yeah. He said, well, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul. And the second one is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. So loving people, loving yourself, loving your neighbor. Can't do one without the other, right? But anyway, I think about this I think about a business in terms of a practical way to love God, because we have these people that are right in front of us. And I don't know about you guys, but like when I'm running a business, I think that the basic business decisions, like approving a budget, hiring, firing, opening up a new product launcher, like those things are fairly easy to make a decision on. Rarely keep you up at night. But what really gets you thinking and praying is a relational issue. Like if someone's not getting along, or you're trying to encourage family members to support one another, by the way, that's the key to a thriving family business, is making sure you're loving each other, right? So obviously, loving people applies to every organization, right? Every living, breathing organization needs love, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your family, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a business, whether it's a town, whether it's a country. We all want to be loved. This is what it comes down to. So anyway, what I think about as I run business, like when we have challenges in relationships, I think, what would I do if I was in their shoes? How can I go the extra mile here? How can I live out the golden rule? And what does loving this person, have to do with the way I respond to this relational situation? And it's amazing how much of the time creating an atmosphere where you can allow yourself to love that person gives you wisdom and helps you to be able to lead. So I just thank God for that every day. And I think it's a beautiful principle. And sometimes in whatever certain settings, it's hard to talk about, but I talk about it with our people when I'm in a leadership conference. And we got to learn to love each other. So anyway,
if you don't mind, and you don't have to use names, of course, but what's an example of that? What's maybe a conflict that or one of these relational issues that you had, if you don't mind sharing, again, no names, but in a situation where you kind of felt like, the world would probably handle it this way, and I'm feeling led to handle it a different way. Do you have something that you could share?
Can I add just a little bit? I think what Jeff's looking for, Ed, is like if there's a listener riding on the bike or running on the treadmill today, and he's dealing with a personal issue in his corporation, and he's thinking this is the way I need to think about it. Is there some advice that you would have based on your experience to say, maybe think about it this way?
Yeah. Let's do this one, Jeff.
Yeah.
What about everybody? It's hard for us when we have to terminate someone's employment.
That's hard for everyone.
That's hard for everyone. But there's a way to do that. That's loving. And where you say, I'm going to put myself in this person's shoes, and you're going to try to imagine everything that they're going to go through. So if it's a guy, you treat this person like it was your brother. If it's a girl, you treat this person like she was your sister. And you say, okay, if this was my brother and sister, how would I want this to go down? Like, I want to make sure they're okay. I want to make sure they understand that they're communicated to, that they know they're still loved and that they're important, and that we want to help them to be successful. This just isn't the place for them. Now, listen, there's exceptions to this where a lawyer might get involved and you say, okay, this is kind of out of my hands. Somebody stole something, or, I can't handle it this way. But by and large, this is the heart that we want to have. Like that we treat somebody like they're part of the family. And like we would want to be treated. Yeah. So that's probably what I would use for an example.
And Ed, what this reminds me of as you're talking about this is like I think a lot of us early in our careers, or maybe there's somebody listening to this who's thinking about like an integrated life where, you kind of go to church on Sunday, you learn those things. All right, I'll try to be a good person, but business is business, and it's almost like it's sometimes easy to try to separate the two. And I think what I'm hearing from you is trying to live those principles you're, hearing about on Sunday morning throughout the week. So it sounds to me like there's not a lot of separation for you, the way you behave on a Sunday versus Tuesday afternoon when you're dealing with a hard thing. How do you think about that kind of thing, an integrated life?
Yeah, well, I would tell you, I'm not perfect at this, but I would say that if I'm sharing a reflection in my church, it would be very similar to what I would share as a leader in my company.
Right.
Like, hopefully I would be the same person. I'm sure you guys are too, like the same person in every context that we're in. So, I'm not saying there's not times when, you're thinking about a lot of business things other than loving people. Like, there's a lot of time for that, but it's what drives us. It's what gives us peace. It's what helps us to sleep good when we put our head on our pillows and stuff like that. Like I did my best. Like I love that person. And I don't know. It really works for me.
No, it's a mindset. You can tell you really work on that mindset, and I think that's really helpful to people listening. Let me ask you another thing. Your family's been in this business a long time. You've been doing it a long time. You've seen a lot of ups and downs and cycles. I'm sure there's been a product release that didn't go quite as expected, or you've been around long enough to have an 08 in your life. And but do you mind talking about maybe some kind of business setback or something that, nothing too personal, but anything, something you're comfortable sharing that it was a little bit of a setback, and kind of how you got through that, or how the team got through that?
Yeah. Well, back in 2014, we had a situation where, we're self-insured on medical, and our medical cost went through the roof. And on top of that, some of our raw material costs spiked. And we had a year, first year that I can remember, where we lost money.
Hmm.
And at that time, we had 5 banks that we were working with. And I won't tell you who they were, but the lead bank. Now, I don't know if you also remember in 2014 was that time when banks were stressed.
Yeah.
They were over leveraged and they were in trouble.
Yeah.
And so and the government was involved making new regulations and stuff that they had to live by. Anyway, long story short, the banks got really hard on us. And it wasn't like they're gonna take the company away from us or anything like that, but it was totally different than what we're used to. You know, we're kind of spoiled family. You know, we've always had a good family business, make our own decisions, and you know, it's kind of like if DEP comes in and tells you, you know, we want to make sure you get a permit for this or that. You're like, wait a minute, it's a free country. You know, we're trying to
Right.
run family business.
Trying to run a business over here.
Yeah.
These banks got hard on us, and I'll never forget one time we were talking to our lawyer, who'd been with us for years and years, and he said to Jim and I, my brother Jim and I, he said, guys, he said, you guys have such a great history. These banks shouldn't be treating you like this, you know. And this is a time where, guys, you know, where like maybe you were still thinking about loving these guys, but you're also thinking about like we got to do the right thing here for our business. Like
Right.
this is a threat,
Right.
right? So we have to protect ourselves. So anyway, we prayed about that, thought about it a lot, and we made a decision that we're going to put our banking business up for bid. And we had a bank come in from the outside. That's a big bank. You would know the name. You would know their name. And they came in and looked at our company and said, we'll take it all. I'm
Wow.
not sure what these guys are doing, but we would love to have your brand in our bank. And man, that was a stressful time. But the Lord just brought those people in. And it was such a blessing to us. You know, like it was tough. It was tough for a while because it really ruffled our feathers and hurt our feelings, and made us not feel loved, right, Jeff and Jeff? Feel the love, you know.
Right.
This new bank came in, and it's been great ever since. That's one that pops in the mind.
See that being stressful. What are some of the practical tips? I mean, we were talking before we started recording today about family business, and we do have a lot of people listening that are running family businesses. Maybe, I guess you're the second generation really running this. Do you have other family members in it? Talk about the benefits and challenges, maybe a little bit, of family businesses.
Yeah. So we have 10 family members working here. 5 of us are in leadership roles. We have 4 third-gen family members in leadership roles. We have 10. So there's 90 people in our family altogether. Actually, that'll be on October 12th, Lord willing. We'll have the 90th person.
Wow.
But we have 10 family members that are trustees. And then we'll have 5 family members that will run our family foundation, and then another 5 family members that'll be running our family council. So all in all, we probably have 25 of the 90 involved in some way in the business. And we have people employed here whose job is to engage other family members in tasting product, and, you know, sampling products, and anything you can imagine, being ambassadors for the company. So we have a lot of family involvement, all that to say, a lot of family involvement, which takes a lot of work.
Yes.
A lot of work. Like I can understand why some family businesses just say, we want to have one family member run the company and that's it.
Right.
Because it really does take, I mean, there's entitlement that comes naturally to
Yep.
family members. You can't blame them. It's just part of, we've all had a little bit of that. Like I was talking about when I was dealing with the banks, part of that was just like, who are you to tell us what to do? But anyway, so I think that family business can be very precious and it can be a point of difference in the marketplace, and you can do things uniquely different than other businesses, and you can make your own decisions, but it's a lot of work. I bet you that in our little business, 1,600 families, it probably takes at least 3, maybe 4 extra people
Yeah.
to just run the family office and all these kind of things. That's not counting lawyer services or
Right.
family office services or those kind of things. So it's an expense. It's probably the heaviest lift that you have run the family business is
Yeah.
running the family part of it. But for us, it's worth it. It's worth it. Like we just do everything we can. Troy, our president, and my daughter, who's the director of culture, they were just on the phone today with kind of a mentor that just kind of works with them and says, how can we best work together, that kind of thing. So we put time and effort into that, a lot of prayer, a lot of love, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
It's worth it for us.
What are some of the things that you do as a family together that aren't a part of work, but you said you're going to have the 90th family member on October 12th. Talk a little bit about some of the things you do as a family.
Yeah. Well, we have 5 family get-togethers throughout the year. So we combine
5.
Christmas
That's
and
huge. That's huge.
Yeah. This is just a meal in the area, but like it'll happen on New Year's Day. Everybody comes to my house. On Easter, we go to my youngest sister's house. July 4th, they come back to my house. Actually, then we do another one in between there. That can be either anybody's house, and then my brother has Thanksgiving at his house, and then we do a shareholder retreat every year. That's a long weekend. That's usually at either Hotel Hershey or sometimes we'll go down to the Greenbrier, West Virginia. But that's a kind of a all expenses paid. It's really kind of like a family vacation, but we have a couple mornings where we talk about business and shareholder responsibilities and family responsibilities and what anyway. So we spend that time together, and at that event, we're having meals together. We're playing games together, golfing together, going to Hershey Park, whatever people want to do.
Yeah, those are 2, Jeff. If you don't know about Greenbrier or Hershey, those are 2 really nice places, and it's a great place to gather the family and just refresh, re-energize, and that's awesome. And that doesn't happen without a lot of effort, as you alluded to. But I feel like you've put a lot as a family into continuing to keep that communication and that collaboration, the C's that you were talking about, the culture, the curiosity. And yep, those things are not happening automatic, right, Ed?
Very intentional.
They'll just happen on their own.
Yeah.
And
right.
Ed, you mentioned it briefly about you've got some family members on the Family Foundation. Can you talk a little? This is obviously the Generous Business Owner podcast. Can you talk? But I think loving your employees, I mean, that's generous right there. So I think we got that, and I think that's a great theme for this podcast. But can you talk a little about the Family Foundation, what you try to do in kind of in the giving category?
Yeah, in the giving category. So I guess one thing we're working on is how can we grow the spirit of generosity in a company and in a family. So probably not the best example, but you guys remember that quote from JFK. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. If you think about it, he said that at a time of social unrest, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of like it was a contentious time. And what he was trying to do is to get people to stop thinking about what's happening to them, start thinking about what you can do to
Right.
help the situation. So anyway, that whole mindset to me lines up with family business, with Christianity, with how you do things right, and that sort of thing. So it kind of goes with this proverb that I love, that's in a Living Bible, says, by watering others, we water ourselves. So what we're trying to do is get richer in this area of giving, and to try to help people to live healthier, happy lives by focusing on what they can do for others. So we have the foundation, we have the corporate giving, we have what we call a Her's Cares Fund, which is a 501c that employees can give to that help their neighbor at work if somebody's house burns down or something like that. We have what we call Helping Hands, which is money that can go to somebody that has a catastrophe happen. We have Partners in Service, where you can take time off, use that time to help a nonprofit. Of course, we have an EAP program, 501k and profit sharing, et cetera, just like most companies do. But what we're trying to do is, and so I have this, and I know we all do, we have this ideal that if every company gave to their area, or whatever area they choose, if every company was good at giving back, we could change the world. So that's what we're trying to do in our little neck of the woods here. We're trying to help all the nonprofits and help them to thrive. And you know, like recently, we kind of came up with this idea of a volunteer city. We're going to start another nonprofit in our town. It's the idea that most nonprofits, besides funding, the number one thing they need is volunteers. And if they have enough volunteers, they can grow their ministry, they can grow their effectiveness, they can do more of what they do. So we're going to hire somebody that's just their sole job is to go around and visit these nonprofits and find out how to connect and network volunteers to them, go to other businesses, put a work day together for another business, that sort of thing. So these are the kind of things that I feel like the at the root of it, what we all love about this is it adds purpose to our work.
Yeah.
It validates why we do what we do. And there's something magical about that. You have a stressful day and you think, well, but there's a bigger purpose here. It's more than just making potato chips. And by the way, we make really good potato chips. Awesome. Put that little plug in there.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah,
But,
I'm
you
looking
know,
forward to I'm looking
it's
forward to
more-
partaking after this. You're making me hungry already, man.
But you
Well,
guys know that it's more than work. It's more than just
But Ed, I think this ties together, and I think maybe this is part of the fun of having you tell that kind of origin story and about your parents, and about how you really worked hard on loving your employees, your family, and now you're talking about your community. And I think let me say it gently. I think that's a lot harder to do for a big public company that's all over the place. When you have a family business and you've been in a community for a long time, to me, it's one of the benefits of a family business. You are real members of that community, and that means a lot to you. You're not doing as like a corporate slogan thing to put on the back of the bag. You're doing it kind of out of this fundamental love. And I think, does it feel like that's another benefit to kind of the family business, that connectivity with the community?
Yeah, that's very good. That's one of the things I didn't mention. That's one of our points of difference, and that is being a family business, being local, and giving. Yeah,
I think it just gives you a unique framework to love your community in that way. Well, this has been amazing, and I know we really could go on forever because this is I wrote down master class as you were talking. This is like amazing. But one of the things as we kind of get to the end of our time today is that we always try to think about is just somebody behind you on the journey. Maybe they've got a growing family business. Maybe they're in the second or third generation of this deal. It's going well, but maybe, they're having some family struggle, whatever it is. What is just one thing? It could be something you've already said or something new that comes to mind. What's a practical tip that somebody kind of behind you on the journey might be able to employ tomorrow, or at least move in the right direction?
Yeah. Well, it's hard. I'm sorry to be redundant, but it's hard.
No, it's fine.
It's hard for me to get away from loving God,
Yes,
loving people,
yes,
working hard.
yes.
That's such a beautiful combination.
Mhm.
So that would be, and if I had to put it down to one word, it would be love.
Yeah.
Like just love.
Mhm.
And it changes. Your opportunities change every second.
Mhm.
You could say something a little off color to someone you love, like your wife or one of your children or one of your employees. And the next second, you have a chance to make it right.
Mm.
You have a chance to love all over
Mm.
and
Mm.
forgive yourself.
What I like about that is I just drew like a little Venn diagram of those. Love God, love people, and the love and work. Work hard but
Hard
love
work,
it. And I think what's unique is they're not all as helpful in isolation. They're good things in isolation, but together they're more powerful. I think that's what I just got out of what you said. You think that's fair?
That's fair.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's a good. You're a good man for that sort of thing.
Well,
Yeah.
it's that center where when you come to work and those three things are happening, man, you're really fulfilled for those 8 hours or whatever it is you're putting in that day.
Well, I'll tell you guys something too. Sometimes we think things that we don't say, and so I want to tell you that I feel like I love you guys today. So thank you for.
Oh, that's very kind.
Yeah,
Right back at you.
Yeah, back at you.
I'm going to love you even more after I open up a bag of those potato chips. I'm going to tell you that.
And Ed, you have been such a great example of carrying on that tradition of loving God, loving people, and loving hard work. I mean, it just permeates through everything that you do and everything that you say, and that's really unified the family, and it's just made the business stronger. But yeah, I feel like more importantly, just made each of those families, not just the families that are a part of your immediate and extended family, but all the 1,600 families that work in the company. That's you definitely exude all of that. So thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your example, and really appreciate you joining us today and sharing a few chips of wisdom.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks. I just add my thanks and my love, Ed, and then we love our listeners. So thank you, everybody else. Thank you, Jeff Rutt. Love you, and I love all the listeners, and I hope they share it with some friends and subscribe, and their friends feel loved by the sharing. So thank you, everybody, for joining this week's Generous Business Owner Podcast. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Generous Business Owner Podcast with Jeff Thomas, Alan Barnhart, and Jeff Rutt. Make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can find the guest contact information in the show notes. Stay tuned for the next episode.